and welcome to our Connect to Comprehension Teacher Stories. My name is Lynn Gibbons, and I'm the developer of the Connect to Comprehension program. And I'm thrilled today to be talking with Amy Parent, who is a second grade teacher. Amy, thrilled to have you here. Tell
Thank
us a
you.
little bit about your educational background.
Certainly. This is my 27th year
Oh
teaching,
my
which is
goodness.
hard to even imagine. 27th year, I have a degree in elementary ed, a master's in early childhood development, and then I have an endorsement in special ed. So I have been teaching second grade or first grade the whole time. Have been teaching here in Huntington, West Virginia in second grade, for 7 years now.
Okay.
I've been using the program for 6 of those 7.
Yes. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what components of Connect to Comprehension appeal to you and which have been the most beneficial for you and your students?
Absolutely. When I first started, I started with tutoring, and I was tutoring 3 children that year and learned about Connect to Comprehension and fell in love instantly with it. And it hit some buttons in my classroom that I felt like I could build on as a 21-year teacher. There's always things you can learn, and I'm always trying to learn.
That's right.
So when I first found the program, I had these light bulb moments that said, why am I not doing this for everyone? So I took the things I was using with my littles, my 3 that I was tutoring. They were struggling. They were in 3rd grade, and they loved certain parts. And so I started building those into my favorites. One of those is that they are decodable. When we talk about comprehension, a lot of times the things that the kids need to comprehend are so well above their level that they're trying to decode every word, and they're forgetting completely about what's being said in the sentence, in the story.
Yes.
So that decodable text part of it, it's a chapter book, and they think it's fabulous. My ones that are struggling, that don't get to read or don't choose to read those chapter books in the classroom, they love that they can hold that up and show their friends and feel like that little one that's in the corner reading the 12 chapter book that they never thought they could do before.
Yes.
And now they're reading it and they're showing their friends. So that decodable text for the comprehension is a wonderful part. That there's scaffolding built in to the program is wonderful. The guide gives you step by step what to do, and that sequential learning is crucial for kids, and it still gives you steps in there that allow you to scaffold for the ones that are reading at a higher level, that the ones that you can push for those abstract thinking, kind of inferential thinking, and the ones that still need what color was the dog. There's all of those questions are built in, which I think is fabulous.
Yes.
It takes less thinking brain off of me and allows me to listen to what the child's saying, which is great. The other part that I love is the multi-sensory. I use my hands, as you can tell, and I think it's important. Yes, I think it's important for the kids to not just sit and read, but to be able to point and touch and move and write, and then check their writing and open their book and look through it. So all of the things that Connect to Comprehension allows me to do with the children are things that I know the kids need to be able to stay with it, to be willing to stay with it, and to get what they need without knowing they're getting it. So those are my loves.
I like that. So it's fun as opposed to.
It is a lot of fun.
I've heard that from a lot of teachers.
It allows them to kind of step outside of their normal read a story, answer questions. They're playing with magnets, they're drawing lines, they're cutting things, they're doing things that gets them involved in their own learning, so they feel like they have ownership over that learning.
Yes, I think that's a really good point, because that's how we make really good gains with students, when they feel like they can own this, when it's not you're just feeding them information and expecting them to respond, when you're having authentic conversations with them, but within the framework of those decodable texts that they can read.
And you allow me to ask questions that get them thinking, where a lot of the comprehension that they do in the curriculum that we're given is rote answers. What color was the dog? Where did they go? What caused the boy to get wet? But in your questions, as they go through the questions, they're having to think, and they may need to just sit back and think. And you have a lot of looking ups and, can I find the answer? I'm like, no, just tell me, what do you think? And they like being able to just answer without it being a right or a wrong. But a
Yes.
true what do you think is good for them.
Yes, it is. And it builds confidence. And so it also builds the skills that they need so that when they get to third, fourth, fifth grade and they're expected to answer those questions, they're not having to learn in third, fourth, fifth grade. Oh, what do I do now? They've already practiced with you in second
Correct.
grade. So they're
Correct.
there already.
And it takes that scared to be wrong,
Yes.
and it turns it into find it and show me what you think.
Right.
Show me
Right.
how you know. And it gives them that opportunity to touch and point and think back.
You had mentioned to me that you use some of these strategies in your classroom for your more fluent readers,
Correct.
even the ones who are not using Connect to Comprehension. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that was one of the goals in writing this, was to give teachers a toolkit to use in a broader sense, to use the strategies and techniques that they use when they're working with their struggling readers beyond that setting. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. I have 3 or 4, this year I have 5 different groups in my room.
Wow.
And I have a variety of levels of readers. I have my struggling readers to my what would be called on-level readers, and my ones that are just ready to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And those that are a little more fluent, that are a little more ready, they still work with me in small group. My struggling readers, of course, work with me a little more, and they see me more often in my rotations.
Yes.
But the ones that are in the different groups, and they change and they're very fluid, but as they're working in those groups, we do the vocabulary words a lot, and they love to be able to make their own sentence strips or their own, when we write the comprehension, the plot of the story, I make them make their own in my more fluent groups. So instead of me giving them a strip to cut out, they have to make their own with a team, and then they quiz their partners. And so it allows them to retell the story, which is the goal of the strips, to be able to break down the story and put it in its order, and to be able to recall that order, but they're doing it and quizzing their neighbor. And it's great to see them say, you forgot a really important part, because they'll tell each other that they forgot something big. And in the vocabulary aspect, we go through the words and we go through the definitions and we practice them. But then those higher groups, they will take those words and turn them into a story. So they will have to have their own character, their own setting, their own plot. And if it weaves into the story that we're doing, I'm good with it, but they're thinking on their own and they're creating. Some of them create me long stories, and others do 5 or 6 sentences, a sentence, a word. But that's still wonderful. My groups that are struggling, we work with those basic skills that are led in Connect Comprehension. And then if they want to continue with that, I let them run and we go with it. But that vocabulary skill is so very important. And in the classroom, I use it in whole group a lot. I make sure I have them on the wall behind me or behind them so that I'm looking at the words. So I try to add them in there. Their goal is to pop their hand up whenever they see me or they hear me say one.
Right. And it's what Isabel Beck says in her Bringing Words to Life, that you have to use the words in different context for students to really, just knowing a word in the student-friendly definition is not enough. But if you do what you're doing, if you use them in different contexts, they really internalize the full meaning of those words.
They do. So, and the best part is when they're reading something else and they come to me and say, I found a word. I have the glow of happy teacher because it's they found it in something else and they recalled it. So it was stuck and not just a flashcard that goes away.
Exactly.
And so we do a lot of writing from day one. And so I use your writing techniques to where they're writing basics and then we build on those basics. And in the classroom, I build in my small groups to where they're writing full paragraphs and telling a plot of a story. But the first group is still telling the plot. They're just writing them in their level sentences that they can write on their own. I love your, when we do sentences and they tell the basic facts. What is the basic facts? And then the kids that just can't say it without telling 7 details, I say, go write it. Tell me everything you know. Yeah. And it's those tell me everything you know moments that they're writing and they'll go, can I use a vocab word? Like, well, yes, use a vocab word, put it in there. But I love seeing those, their own little light bulbs.
And making those connections is absolutely what true learning is all about, yes. Is making
and
connections.
The ones that see it as a, oh, I get to use a word, they're still learning. It's not fluid for them yet, but the ones that it is fluid for, I say, try to fit 2. I try to push them in a different way, or tell me, that's why I do for my group that's a little more enriched in writing. I will enrich them by saying, you have to make your own story now. Go away from the dog that's in the story, turn it into some other animal, and or put it into a person. And so they have to take those and go beyond and think abstractly, which helps them. Sure. And then my struggling group, they're still writing a sentence and they just know that all groups are doing beginning, middle, end.
Yes.
They don't know the difference.
You know, you have just given us a class on differentiated instruction, Amy.
Absolutely.
That's what differentiated instruction is all about. You've just described it.
Yes, it is.
Which is just wonderful.
Yes, I am learning disabled. I am dyslexic. And so when I was in school, I don't remember having small groups. My first grade year we did, and I was a bluebird and I knew exactly what a bluebird meant. Oh, yeah. And so in my room, we changed groups a lot. Even if I move one child, I go, oh, you changed groups again? They don't get that it was just one child that was moved, but that differentiation is so important because I can get them where they are and push them where they absolutely push them where they can go, that they don't even know they can get there yet. And I feel that's really important. And that's part of why I learned about Connect Comprehension, was to be able to reach my ones that are struggling, but still push those that can go further to go even more. And we're still having groups, which is great.
Yes.
And so I fully, highly recommend Connect Comprehension. And if you're watching and you're a new teacher, jump on it. It is worth it. It is worth the time learning. Find a teacher that that's done it. We're all here on the Facebook group if it's something that you're interested in.
Yes.
But I say jump on there and go for it, because only the kids can only benefit, and you as a teacher can benefit just by learning more about how to be a better teacher.
Thank you so much, Amy, for
You're most
sharing
welcome.
all of your wonderful thoughts. I really do appreciate it.